Welcome. My name's Rachel, and I am one of the wine buyers here at Total Wine & More. I am absolutely thrilled to be part of our virtual tasting series at Total Wine. And today we have my great friend, Leslie Sbrocco, joining us as we taste through some of the wines that made our top 20 list this year, including our #1 wine. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us. I want to throw it over to you to just do a little introduction.
Thank you, Rachel. Hi, I'm Leslie Sbrocco, everybody, and I am a wine expert, author, television host of Check Please Bay Area, and of course, a big fan of Total Wine. So I'm thrilled to be tasting these magnificent wines with you. We've got 6 of the 20 that we're tasting today, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, I just wanted to share a little bit about our annual top 20 list. This is actually the 15th year that we will be publishing this. The top 20 list is a really great tool to help our consumers really navigate this enormous wine selection that we have by focusing on wines that we believe over-deliver for what the price point is. In order to compile this list every year, our team tastes through hundreds of wines. We travel to the wineries all over the world, and we really look for things that are going to over-deliver at that price point. So today, out of the top 20, we're going to taste our top 6 wines. We're going to start actually going a little bit backwards, and Leslie's going to share some of her thoughts on the wines as we get going too.
That's right. I get to taste a couple thousand wines myself every year, so it's always a joy to sit down and taste in this format and be able to talk about these wines, as we taste them.
Perfect. Well, let's start with number 6. So our number 6 wine is the Moscota Vineyards Unanime Malbec. So this wine is made by winemaker Rodolfo Opie Sadler, who spent over 30 years working in Malbec in Argentina. Opie is widely regarded as one of the top Argentinian winemakers and one of the best winemakers in the world. This wine easily shows how absolutely opulent and bold and beautiful and nuanced the Unanime Malbec is.
And I have to say, I'm going to talk about Malbec a little bit to begin with, because Malbec has gained such incredible popularity in the U.S. I think because it's easy to say. It's a French grape variety that's easy to say. And as, of course, it made its transition from France to Argentina, Malbec is part of the blends of Bordeaux, to Argentina, it created its own signature. And Malbec from Argentina is wildly different from Malbec from France and other places because of Mendoza's altitude. This is coming from Mendoza, the famous wine growing region in Argentina. And it's very high altitude. I've visited several times to judge Malbec. Actually, I was a judge, the U.S. judge for the International Argentinian Wine Awards, and I judged about 300 Malbecs in 2 days. So I'll tell you that. Your tongue hurt after that. That one is your tongue was and your teeth were black, and it hurt a little bit. But it gains this by being at altitude. This is such a thick-skinned grape variety. It loves the sunshine, but being at such high altitudes, thousands of feet above sea level, and you're in the mountains, they've got this protective skin, and so they maintain their acidity at night because the temperature drops dramatically, and they get all this ripe fruit during the day. So that's what's so beautiful, I think, in general about Argentinian Malbec is this lovely intensity of flavor and color, but then with this zippy, bright acidity. It's like doing a tango on your tongue, right? Choo. Makes it dance. And this one certainly.
I love that you bring up the acidity. So one of the things I always like to think about as we're talking about our top wines is, what would you pair this with, Leslie? So acidity always brings to my mind a great food pairing wine. So if you're thinking about this, and I know you just said you tasted a lot of Malbecs, but what would Unanime pair very well with?
Well, because it's got, and I'm just going to take a quick sip because the aromas are, the beauty of Malbec is that it has this aromatic quality that's almost leaning towards floral. So you walk, think of smelling, roses and things like that. You get this little hint of herbally, earthy, but still floral note to it. It's not pretty flowers like jasmine and that sort of thing, but a little bit more of that earthy scale, and that dark berry fruit comes out. But then when you taste it, It's got this, again, fruit explosion of dark berry fruit, a little bit of that pepperiness, a little bit of that minerality because of where it's planted in the mountains. And then you get this ping of acidity, this ping of freshness that I say is doing a tango on your tongue. And that right there is one of those things that we always use as the anchor in food and wine pairing. What's the acidity like? So if you're down in Mendoza, which is a beautiful city, and you start eating dinner, which happens at about 11 o'clock at night, is when you start eating dinner in Mendoza and in Argentina. You know, it's meat and Malbec all the way, baby. It is a big slab of meat with maybe some chimichurri sauce there to pick up the acidity as well. And, you know, it is meat and Malbec is the classic pairing. And that's, you know, I think particularly true for this wine. Would be beautiful with just a steak off the grill. You know, very clean, very fresh, nothing, you know, maybe a little chimichurri sauce on the side to, you know, not muck things up. But that's the classic pairing to me. But I have to also say that this one would be a chocolate wine.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
If you like dark chocolate, I often recommend Merlots or Zinfandels, you know, in terms of a dry red wine. But Malbec is one of those that escapes people when they think of chocolate. You know, a dark chocolate would be absolutely beautiful, or chocolate covered blueberries or something would be beautiful with this wine. So you can indulge both your savory and your sweet tooth, I think, with this wine.
I love that. And dark chocolate is my absolute favorite. So I'll have to keep that in mind for the next time. All right. Well, as much as I love this, I think we should move on to wine number 5. So wine number 5.
I've got a lot of class.
Is coming to us from southeastern Spain. So this is the Parsolica Monastrell. So this is from Yecla in the southeastern portion of Spain. This is from Bodegas Antonio Candela, which is the 4th generation winery. They're making this wine. It's really interesting. So Parsolica is the local expression for small plot, traditionally cultivated family property. So, you know, all family owned, family touched, you know, there's a lot of love that goes into making this wine. So this is paying tribute to that. And you get just a rich, rich wine that is deep and complex.
And it's very, very earthy. So whereas the Malbec was this beautiful explosion of fruit in the aromas and on the palate, this one, when you smell it, it has that undertone of rusticity and earthiness. So if you know, gravitate towards wines that have that earthy complexity, this is the great value wine for you. This wine. So that's what I love about the aromas of this, that kind of smoky and herbally and brambly note to it.
Yeah. I still think this is, as much as it has that grippiness to it, it's still really smooth and round and plush to it as well.
On the finishes, absolutely, the tannins are pretty well in check, and you've got just this lovely mouthful of this sort of succulent fruit comes out on the finish. You're exactly right. And I think, you know, when you're talking about Yecla, it's not a huge region in the south east of Spain, but it is a hot region. The neat thing, though, about where, you know, we talked about altitude on the last one, and we're going to talk about altitude here, because you get some altitude in Yecla as well, which helps to keep the wines fresh and juicy, because that acidity gets preserved when you have cooler nights and not just baking hot, you know, southern Spain days. But you've got this beautiful, and Monastrell is the name of the grape variety, but we know it as Mourvedre. And in France, they know it as Mourvedre, Mataro in Australia. So it's got numerous names, but in any place that it's planted, this grape variety exhibits that earthy, rustic, but still elegant and succulent character to it. And I think this one is absolutely delicious. I love this wine.
I love this wine too. This is, to me, you get that smokiness. I could see like a charcuterie board with some really good cheese on that as well to bring to the table.
braised meats is one, you know, that goes with this. Long, slow cooked meat dishes, and maybe grilled mushrooms. You know, I love to take a portobello mushroom, scoop it out. You can fill it with anything you want if you want, or just leave it. You know, I put a little pesto in it maybe, and just grill it up, a little olive oil, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I can see that kind of earthy, mushroomy character picking up the beauty of this wine and complementing those kind of earthy aromas and flavors of this wine. Even stuffed peppers, think about that. You know, take a bell pepper, a red pepper or yellow pepper, stuff it with some ground turkey or ground meat, and you've got that nice peppery note, because there is that peppery crush of pepper in here that you can smell and taste. Yeah,
it's gonna be perfect for the table.
It's going to end cheeses. Let me just not forget to mention cheeses with this wine, because, you know, you could have a Spanish manchego. You know, you want kind of again, an earthy, crumbly, you know, maybe a goat's cheese or something with a little bit of age on it. So you can really play off the brightness of this wine, as well as that kind of underlying rustic tone. So yeah, it's a delicious.
It can go the range, which is really nice to see in a wine.
Yeah, and sometimes you think a wine like this. Oh, sorry. Sometimes you think a wine like this is just for food, but actually this one has enough of that juicy, fruity quality on the palate to just pour it and have it as a 5 o'clock cocktail alone.
And there's plenty of those 5 o'clock cocktails happening in this past year, that's for sure. So
absolutely. Well, this one is one you can pour to.
We're going to move on to white. So we're going to bring some Chardonnay to this party. So this is our number 4 wine. This is the Butter Knife Chardonnay. So this is an honest to goodness buttery Chardonnay. The name says it all. It's smooth in texture, has amazing flavors from those buttery mallow notes that you get. And the apple fruit that comes through it is just delightful. It brings like this brightness to it.
You know, this is, you know, when you smell it, it evokes those images of taking a butter knife and slicing through the butter and melting it on a dish, or cooking with that beautiful, you know, aroma and flavor of butter. And you mentioned mallow. Malolactic fermentation is a secondary fermentation that wine undergoes to take those tart malic acids and change them into lactic acid, right? So we're talking about butter and about, you know, cream and all that. So when a wine goes through mallow, and we say mallow, that means that malolactic fermentation has occurred and gives you this lovely, creamy, buttery note to it that comes just from mallow, not even from the oak barrel aging, but from the mallow. And so if you love that style of wine, this is really the wine for you. It does have those lovely, appealing, as you said, baked apple and kind of spice aromas to it, and vanilla and butterscotch. And then you taste it. But the nice thing is it's not heavy. You know, some of these wines that are full mallow, or, you know, really go for that creamy side of the scale, can be heavy and plodding. This wine is light on its feet. It still has freshness, it still has brightness, and it really is a well-balanced example. So it can please people who don't really gravitate towards the buttery style, and those who do. It'll please both of them.
Yes, I was just thinking the same thing. You know, a lot of people I talk to sometimes say, oh, I don't like a oaky or a buttery Chardonnay. Right. But I think for me, finding that perfect balance and the butteriness, but still having the good acidity and the fruit that comes through, that makes it really well-rounded. This is a great example of this.
Exactly. And balanced alcohol. You don't want it, you know, highly alcoholic, because that weighs into the heaviness of the wine. And oakiness is different than mallow. So, you know, when you get an oakier character from aging in oak barrels, you get that spice and that vanillin, and that's where those kind of characters come from. And so I do think this marries all of those elements really beautifully. And to me, when you have a wine like this, yes, this is a porch pounder. We can say that officially. Go down, get on your porch, and just enjoy. But when it goes with food, we're talking about grilled scallops. Think about, you know, a fleshy scallop or a lobster tail, or, you know, anything that you can, seafood wise, that you can throw on the grill. A beautiful salmon would be gorgeous with this. But roast chicken, you know, roast chicken and sweet potato fries would be a fantastic option as well. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's
I love that. I was also thinking a white pizza could go really well with this as well.
yeah, nice. Absolutely. And cheeses like brie. One of my favorite things to do with brie is take a little bit of apricot jam, rub it on, spread it on the top of the brie, wrap it in some phyllo or pastry dough, and then bake it, right? And you pull that out, you get a little cream, you get that just, oozing out of the crust, and you get that lovely baked bread quality and the fruitiness. And that would be a brilliant pairing with this for appetizer or dessert or just dinner alone, right?
That sounds delicious to me. That's one of my go-to appetizers for sure. It's easy to make and it's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, it's a beauty. This is a lovely Chardonnay. So for those who say I don't like Chardonnay, give this a try. You will like it.
Love that. All right, we're on to wine number 3. So wine number 3 is the 1858 red blend. This is from the renowned Wagner family. This is the same family that has brought you Caymus Cabernet. This is going to be different though. This is a red blend. It's coming from all around California. This is a high value wine for the price point. It's not going to break your bank. It really gives that Hallmark quality that the Wagner family is known for. It's lush, it's approachable. It's really nice and smooth.
It's a real crowd pleaser, this wine, that's for sure. And when you have the pedigree of being made by the Wagners, that plays into the quality price ratio being so good. And so, sourcing fruit from all over California, and when you have things like Zinfandel, Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Syrah that goes into this wine, you're talking about grapes that have body and unctuous ripe fruit and lushness and plushness, as you said, Rachel. So you're really going for that crowd pleasing angle here. And don't be afraid, even though this is a big lush wine, don't be afraid to chill this down. I am a big fan of taking even your biggest reds and putting them in an ice bucket for 10, 20 minutes, and it mutes the alcohol level of the wine and allows the fruitiness to really express itself. So there's a really good tip for a wine like this, is to bring out that fruitiness by chilling it down a little bit.
Yeah, I keep all of my red wines in my wine refrigerator, and I take them out just, 15 to 30 minutes before, depending on how cold I want them. But I love to have just a little bit of chill on it. Not going to be too cold, but it just brings out some really nice flavor characteristics in it.
Actually, cool to the touch, not cold to the touch, but cool. That's right. And you can take your whites out of the fridge and put your reds in before you serve them. That's the way to do it, half hour before. But, when you taste this wine, because of that fleshy fullness of it and that juicy, succulent fruit quality, I think, I kind of go, what pops into my head is pulled pork, like a sweet, salty, pulled pork sandwich would be fantastic with this. A pizza would be great with this. A sausage-laden pizza with this wine, or even a veggie pizza would be great with this wine. You got, a mole sauce, maybe something like a chicken with a mole sauce, which has that chocolatey, cacao sort of character that really would pick up this. And, I think in terms of appetizers, take dates and stuff them with a little bit of feta cheese or something and wrap them in bacon. Perfect with this, that fruity, savory note to it. So, this gives you a lot of options for just really fun sipping.
Yeah. I think this is an easy one too. It pairs well, but again, it's really great on its own. Wednesday night wine.
Wednesday night wine. That's right. These are, the beauty of all these wines that you and your team have picked, Rachel, is that they offer that price quality, ratio that's so incredible. You're getting such incredible quality for such a reasonable price that you can stock up on them. So it's Tuesday night with takeout. It's Wednesday night at home. It's Thursday night at home. It's Friday night. Now we're getting back onto restaurants. But, this one would work all throughout the week. And again, you're not breaking the bank with any of these wines.
Yeah. I just love this, but I think it's time for a celebration as we move into wine number 2.
All right. Sip of water first.
Sip of water.
As much water
moving into sparkling.
Yeah, look at that. My favorite is sparkling, of course. So whose isn't? And you have a real winner here. I can't wait to to talk about this one.
This is one of my favorites as we talk about sparkling wine. This is the Louis Boyau Pearl de Vigne Brut. So this is from Burgundy. So as you think about Burgundy and you think about where Champagne is, they're really close neighbors, but we're not paying Champagne prices for an amazing sparkling wine here. So this is from the Burgundy House of Louis Boyau. It was founded in 1877. It's a little bit ago as we think about that. They make sparkling wines that over deliver. Like I said, you're not going to break the bank on this. So this is a great everyday wine, but it's also a really great celebration wine.
Well, and I call it right. I call it impress for less. When you have a bottle that looks like this, and you know it's an impressive wine, but for half the price of what you'd pay for Champagne. So, but pay attention on the bottle. It says Crémant de Bourgogne. So Crémant de Bourgogne is a sparkling wine from the Burgundy region of France. And Crémant is a style that is a sparkling wine style, a really creamy sparkling wine style, that's made in various places in France other than Champagne. This is not Champagne because it doesn't come from the Champagne region of France, but it is a Crémant style. So you can have Crémant de Bourgogne, Crémant from Burgundy, Crémant de Loire from the Loire Valley, Crémant de Bordeaux, Crémant de Alsace. So different Crémant styles from different regions in France. And so it's different grape varieties that can also be made in a traditional method, the same method as Champagne, but made with different grape varieties. So this one has Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, also great varieties of Champagne, but adds a Burgundy grape called Aligoté, a white grape, and Gamay, which is a red grape, the grape of Beaujolais. So you're getting this lovely complexity from these four partner grapes and giving you a little different character than you would get. It's still a brut style, which means dry. And so it gives you a little different character than Champagne, but with the quality level of Champagne. So I'm a huge fan of Crémants in terms of the value. Crémant de Limoux, fantastic value from the south of France. So look for that Crémant tag, and you're going to find affordability in bubbles.
I love that tip. It's one of my favorites. And so for me, I use this for brunches. I use this for New Year's Eve. I use this for celebrations. It's one of my favorites.
Well, it's got a very aromatic nose. You've got some white flowers and really pretty peachy sort of fruit character to it. And then on the palate, it's soft and elegant. And that's a hallmark of Crémant wines, is that kind of softness and creaminess on the palate. And that's what you get with this wine. And it's a lovely dry finish. And I think, as you said, brunch, perfect with, ham and egg casserole, quiches. It's great with spicy food. So, Thai takeout and Kung Pao chicken and anything spicy, it's foiled by the elegance and brightness of this. And I think fried foods, French fries, just grab a bag, a little bit that heaviness. That's right. Grab a bag of chips and this, and you'll be a happy person. That's a great dinner. And sushi, goes great with, if you're getting sushi takeout or something like that. This is a perfect wine for that, giving you a little bit of exotic notes that goes with the ginger of it. And so very flexible wine. I mean, you can pour this with just about anything.
Yeah. And you don't need to wait for a special occasion to break this out. And I think that's something that is important to think about. I mean, sparkling's for the everyday. There's no need to wait for some big celebration to have this.
Absolutely. I call it wine with sparkle. That's all it is. It's wine. It just has sparkle. And so it makes a Tuesday night that much better. It makes a Saturday night that much better. And at this price point, you can do it all throughout the week. So yeah, everything's better with bubbles.
I agree. And I hate to move off of this one because it is just so nice and bright, and it makes me just so happy today.
It is. It's a pretty, pretty, pretty wine. I mean, this is one to stock up on. Absolutely. I'm running out of space here where to put my glasses, so I'll put that one back there. Unfortunately, we're to the end of it. We're at the number one wine. So I feel like maybe we need a little bit of a drum roll so that we can let everybody know what the number one wine is. All right. So the number one wine, everybody, I know you've been waiting for this, is the Carmen Gran Reserva Cabernet. So this is a Chilean Cabernet. It's from Vina, Carmen, which is the oldest
the first Chilean winery that was founded in 1850. It has a woman winemaker, Emily Faulkner, who is amazing at what she does. She really does very low intervention in her wines. She has pedigree that goes back. She studied with Cakebread Cellars and Chateau Canon. And this Grand Reserve is 100% Cabernet. So it's true, full Cabernet. And it's coming from carefully selected vineyards. And it gives a really powerful characteristic that comes through. But it's extremely smooth and nice and beautiful.
Well, I have to say, I want to... Oh, it's beautiful. And I've had the pleasure of actually visiting Vina, Carmen, and getting out into the vineyards. I mean, these are the people that discovered the true roots of Carmenere, the red grape from France that has become one of the signature grapes of Chile. And you can't underestimate, and I think people don't pay quite as much attention to, but they should, Cabernet Sauvignons from Chile, particularly from the Maipo Valley. So this is from the Maipo, which is the oldest wine-growing region, recognized wine-growing region in Chile, on the outskirts of Santiago. So if you visit Santiago, you can, which is an amazing city, you can go and visit the Maipo and visit some incredible wineries, including Vina Carmen. And Maipo it's got beautiful heat there, but again, Chile is such a long, skinny country that you're never too far from the coast. You're either influenced by the Andes Mountains or the Pacific coastline. So it still has this, yes, ripe fruit, but again, that cool climate evenings help to zip in all that structure and acidity. And that's what you get with Great Maipo Cabs, of which this is one. And so it's beautiful intensity of color, but not, super deep and rich like some Cabernets that from even hotter climates can have. And you smell it and you get, again, this lovely crushed kind of berry fruit, a little bit of dark spices to it, a little bit of that minerality. I'm going back to sort of a note of minerality, sipping or, smelling a little wet rock is what I think of with minerality, or a graphite pencil or something. Mm-hmm. And then when you taste it, it has that structure. You feel the tannin a little bit. They're soft. They're lovely. They're integrated. But it gives that wine structure. So you can drink this wine now. It's got beautiful fruit intensity and concentration. But you can also lay this wine down for a few years and it will get even better and even more complex because of the structure of this wine. So I'm a huge fan of not only, again, Carmen wines, having visited the property, but also a fan of Maipo Cabernets from Chile.
So when you think about this, what would you pair this with if you had your perfect pairing?
Oh, a petite filet mignon with blue cheese melted on top. A little bit of blue cheese. Maybe some lamb chops. You could do lamb chops. That would be a classic sort of pairing to this, to do, a little lollipop lamb chop. And I think of this wine with cheeses a lot. Again, going back to making a cheese platter, a charcuterie platter, of course, would be brilliant with this. But when you get, cheeses that you could do white cheddar, a nice aged white cheddar. You'd want to do something pungent, so a little bit more aged. You could do a gorgonzola, again, blue cheese. You can do, pecorino or Parmigiano Reggiano, just hunks of it, and then set out some fruit alongside the fruit, the cheese platter and charcuterie platter, and you're in heaven. You're taking a trip to Chile.
I love it. And the other really great thing about this is it's below $20. So it over delivers for what the price point is. You can take this with you and somebody's going to think you spent way more money on it. It's a great value, but it tastes amazing.
It is. It's again, I had in Press for Less with the Bueo, but this is twice the price. So this is worth at least twice the price, if not more, because it does deliver on this complexity, this intensity, this elegance, and it tastes so much richer and classier than the price tag, right? I mean, you really, this is a steal of a wine. I can see why it's number one in terms of that quality and price ratio. I can see why.
That's great.
So it's a beauty.
Well, Leslie, I really want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's been truly spectacular to go through this and hear your personal stories and hear what you think the great food pairings are. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me and letting me taste these delicious wines.
I love it.
I have a
and
lot
then
to
for
drink
our
in the next few days. I have a lot open for the next few days to enjoy.
audience. It's a good problem to have, Leslie. Come on.
It is.
And for
Not bad.
our audience that's in at home, I really invite you to check out all of our top 20 wines. We spent a lot of time curating this list for you. So please go into your local Total Wine store and also visit our website at totalwine.com to shop all of these amazing products, but also learn more about our virtual tastings that we have coming up. So thank you so much again, Leslie, and cheers. I look forward to continuing these tastings with you.
You too. Salud. Cheers.
Salud.
Egészségedre, as they say in Hungary.